Okay, we're live. Hello, welcome to the Cinema Savvy Movie Podcast. I'm Chris Garner, joined with my co-host for today, Tayte in the Hour. And this one I have been waiting for so long. I've been waiting to talk about this movie for so long. This will be our review on Kubo and the Two Strings. This is the latest movie from Leica Productions. They've made films in the past such as Coraline, Paranorman, Box Trolls. And this one I was just insanely hyped for. And Tayte, that was kind of all down to you. I remember when I was doing my reactions earlier on in the year, you were like, Chris, please do a reaction on this trailer. I've just seen it. It's an animated film. It looks right up your street. You sent it me, and from the trailer, I was instantly blown away. So should we talk about like sort of how you discovered this film and your hype for it and how it's built, and then we'll go into the review.
I'm a big fan of Leica. I really am. I liked Coraline. Coraline was very eerie, very creepy. I didn't like Box Trolls as much, I'm not going to lie. Paranorman, very good film as well. But I heard about this film being made, and I thought, okay, it could be in contention for possibly being put up for awards. I saw the list of animated films coming out that year and thought, okay, that's a lot of animated films. It's got quite a lot to deal with. When the trailer dropped, it was just random luck. I was on YouTube and I was scanning through film trailers, even though I'm not like subscribed to any film trailer channels. It just so happened that on that day, the trailer got released. And I thought, oh, I remember this. Had a look at it, watched it, and thought, wow, this film is going to be incredible. And it was one of those situations where I think it's going to be exactly the same with La La Land when we go to see it. If it's good, it's going to be phenomenal. If it's not so good, or if it's less than what was expected, I'm going to slate it. And I'm not going to lie, but this exceeded my expectations. It was incredible.
Yeah, same here. And I came out of this film, instantly messaged you, and I said, this is my film of the year. I think actually you'd been in the film for about an hour when I sent the message. And then you were like, completely agree. And it absolutely is. And before this film came out, my film of the year so far was Kung Fu Panda 3. I know you and everyone else on our channel doesn't really like the Kung Fu Panda films. I love them. And again, that was an animated film that completely blew me away visually, what they were able to accomplish, just how far CGI animations come. And everything like that, and it did hit on the emotional stuff as well. But this movie, and I put a status on this on my personal Facebook, it's very rare for me nowadays, the guy who is classed as the guy who likes nothing, that a life-changing movie will come along, and this film just hit me in every emotional place it physically could. I'll admit it, I was welling up within the first 5 minutes, just at the sheer beauty of what I was seeing on the screen. And everyone at the end of the film, once the credits started rolling, and we're not going to go into spoilers, we'll start off with spoiler-free and go into spoilers later on down the line, but the credits are done in 2D animation, and it was so nice to see 2D animation back again in some way, shape, and form, even if it is just in the credits. But everyone in that screen remained seated, and I couldn't look at everyone's face, but I can only imagine they were like mine, where you just like you're just kind of, you're recalling everything you've just witnessed, and it's so nice because we've had a hell of a lot of disappointing movies this summer. A hell of a lot. It's probably one of the worst years in movie history that I can think of for bad movies. But when you see a movie like this, it's such a nice feeling because you come out of it pumped. I was actually going to go and see a few other films after this. I was going to go and see Don't Breathe or Hell or High Water. But I was like, you know what? I need to let this movie settle. I've just witnessed something special. And this is why I love going to the movies. This is why I'm a movie fan, for movies like this that just push the boundaries. This is, without a doubt, probably this and alongside Anomalisa, which came out last year, is the best stop-motion film I've ever seen. What they were able to accomplish and everything like that, it's just... And I know I'm sort of drifting all over the place right now, but when you see a movie like this, you kind of just have to go off one. So I've been talking enough. Tayte, do you want to kick us off with the IMDb?
Yeah.
And we'll
wait a sec. Just before that, my movie experience was actually slightly different. It was weird. Everyone left as soon as the film finished, and my cinema was dominated with kids. And what was even stranger was I had a person walk in 5 minutes late into the film and then walk out about 15 minutes later. So I'm unsure on whether he was in the wrong screening or whether he just
This isn't
missed the first 5 minutes, and therefore I know. But it, like, I was the only person left there in the cinema at the end. I was sat there, center screen, and I was just watching and listening. I looked around, and the hair stood up on the back of my neck because I realized I was the only one there. I was the only one to experience it, and for me, that made it more special.
Yeah.
With the ending and everything. But let's go to the trusty IMDb for the synopsis. A young boy named Kubo must locate a magical suit of armor worn by his late father in order to defeat a vengeful spirit from his past.
Yeah, and if we break it down on that level, it really is a very, on surface level, a very safe story, a very traditional story. It's not really pushing anything there. We'll get into the themes more later on, but the themes really, really elevate this movie to a whole other level. But what I loved about this movie is it was like the culture and the storytelling, like the sort of folklore and mythology, everything like that. It's very much one of those films where you've got all these characters that have magical powers. For example, you've seen it in the trailers with Kubo, where he's playing the lute, for example. And he's magicking up all these pieces of paper that are folded into origami, and everything's moving like that. And any other film I would be in like this, they haven't explained this, how does he have this power and everything like that, but you are just sort of thrown into this world where people can do magic, and magic is expected of people, and people accept it, even the villagers of the town. And it's just so nice to get swept up into, even all the characters and everything like that, all the people in the town. It was an absolute joy to watch, and just the landscapes of everything like that. So you are really just thrown into it. And if you are a person that's really critical, like needs everything explained, you probably won't like this movie. I'm usually like that too, but I was just absolutely captivated by the magic of it. So I had no problem with all that.
This is a movie
stuff.
where you need to pay attention to the magic.
Yes.
You really do. It's like... Oh, wait a second, I'm echoing.
You're echoing?
You got it? Yeah, I was echoing. I think I still am. I'm unsure. I'll continue talking.
Okay.
But you really do need to pay attention to the magic which takes place in the film, because the magic is the plot.
Yes.
And if you're unable to follow with the magic and what's going on, then it would be very difficult to follow the plot. I can't remember exactly what the line is, but now. Yeah. That is one of the first lines of the film, and that basically tells you exactly what you need to do throughout the film. It's like the "Are you watching closely?"
I was thinking the exact same thing when I watched it. Yeah,
Prestige. But this film, without really spoiling anything, I immediately went onto Reddit and I had a look through, and a lot of people are talking about the different cultural ways to deal with death. And I know that in the IMDb thing it said his arm was worn by his late father. It's the different styles of grieving between Western civilization and the way the Eastern civilizations do it, which basically anchors the plot to this film and really does bring forward the message of the different ways that people can let go and just seriously this film. So as far as we can say, the characters are very well developed on every single corner. It's almost, because it's got quite a small cast of characters, you feel emotionally attached to every single one of them. And you can emphasize with absolutely every single one of them. You can put yourself in their shoes, you can understand their situation, and you can understand their story. Each individual character has their own story, but it's all tied together by the main character being Kubo.
And the film itself is, once the film gets going and we realise what the quest is, it is very episodic. It is almost like a fable, like a kid's book. Like, we've got to get, I don't know if this is spoiling anything, but we've got to get the unbreakable sword, we've got to get the armour, and we've got to get the helmet. There are 3 set things they need to collect to complete their quest, and that's what I mean. When you look at it on a surface level, the story is very simple and very traditional, but that works for the film. You need that kind of childlike innocence of the story, and that's really... I know we talked about like loss and everything like that. That's what the theme is about. But I think also one of the key themes of this film is just the concept of storytelling and like how people react to stories. I mean, you've got all the...
This is a film about storytellers.
Yeah, you've got all the villagers.
This is a film about...
that love the story, and Kubo goes there every day to tell a story. And they're all saying like, "Oh, we want an ending." They're all engrossed into it, but also the fact that the film inherently is itself an original story. And fair play to I did read who came up with the story, what the original story was based on.
It's based off a Japanese folktale.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay.
So it is not completely original, but basically the story that is shown on the screen is original.
Yes, and that's why we should support movies like this. And it's absolutely. I'm looking at Wikipedia now. It's done on a budget of 60 million. I think you said that most of Leica's other projects have all been on that level of budget.
They've all gone. All of them were 60 million, and all of them have gone above 100 million. And this is really disappointing that this has gone up to only 43 million, even, and it's got the highest ratings out of all of the films.
Yeah, I think currently I'm on Rotten Tomatoes. It's on 97%, isn't it? Which is absolutely staggering. Completely deserved, though.
I know that Hell or High Water hasn't been released yet, but at this present moment in time, it is the highest rated film of the year.
Oh, Hell or High Water is
on
out.
Metacritic.
It came out about a week ago. Only in selected cinemas, though. But
when it gets released worldwide, that's when Metacritic officially puts it up on the top of the list.
And it's just really, really tragic for me, like a company like Leica that does put out this quality content. I mean, stop motion animation is kind of, I won't, in terms of animated films, I would say it is kind of a dying art form, and it's films like this that are keeping it alive and keeping it current and just pushing the boundaries of it. This and Anomalisa, I think, were probably two of the best I've ever seen. But it is a shame when it's really not making the money. It's not making the money back, and it really depresses me because it's not just the animation; it's the storytelling. Now it's sort of Disney, Pixar, and like DreamWorks that are just absolutely dominating the animation market.
I was talking to my parents about this the other day, but if you look at the films, because this will get nominated for the Best Animation Picture, if not, then it might be the greatest snub of all time.
Mm-hmm.
I know that Wallace and Gromit: Curse of the Were-Rabbit won Best Animated Picture, the best animated film of that year, I don't think. 2005. But this film is going up against Finding Dory, which has broken box office records, which means that people will be more likely to lean towards that. It's also got Zootopia or Zootropolis, which is a very good film, very good in contention, coming out later on this year. Sausage Party might be nominated. You never know. We've also got Secret Life of Pets, which did a number on the box office. We've got Trolls coming out later on this year. We've got Sing coming out later on this year. This year really is a year for animated films, and it's going to be difficult to wade its way through. However, as far as what I've seen so far, this is the best story done to an animated film in a long time, and I was willing to say that this might be up there, maybe in the top 3, maybe even number 1 of the greatest animated films of all time, and that is a bold statement.
No, I would completely agree with that, and I think me and George did a list actually on our channel of our favourite animated films, and I was like, oh, if only we'd have done the list now, because this would have totally got in my top 5. Absolutely.
I would, as far as animated films are concerned, my favourite 2 at this present moment in time is The Iron Giant and Toy Story 2. I choose 2 over 1 because the story in 2 was better. If anyone wants to argue with me on that online, I would happily go for it. But everything going for it. It had everything going for it. You've got the animation style, stop motion, looks so nice.
So fluid.
And you know that with the effort put in, more effort put in than just having it computer generated. I know that computer generating things is very difficult art form, but stop motion takes time and dedication of handwork and visual work. The cinematography for this film was incredible. The music for this film was incredible. And one thing which I think does help this kind of film, because if it was a live action film, it would not have done even slightly as well, even if the characters like Monkey and Beetle were human. We've got, with animated films, you've got so much time to develop the facial, like, muscles of what the character is trying to convey emotion-wise. You've got time to sync that up with the voice actors. The voice actors could easily change their voices or change what they're saying, the tone of it, to suit the animation. The animation can likewise change to suit how the person's saying it. And with that kind of dedication, the film changes all the way. You can always go back and, okay, can we quickly just do that? Whilst with acting, sometimes it's just we got to do as many takes as possible. And with this kind of thing, you really only get one chance to get it right. And because you get one chance, it's always evolving throughout the entire film. And you can see the performances evolve throughout this film for every single character involved.
Yeah, absolutely. And probably the only other stop motion animation film I've really had this with is probably in the last few years anyway, is Anomalisa. And I had it with this. I didn't see like little claymation puppets. I saw characters. I saw almost people, how expressive they were, how fluid the animation was. It is just truly groundbreaking stuff. And I know they use some computer animated elements in there too for backgrounds and things like that. We see at the end credits, this isn't giving anything away, but they show how they filmed and how they puppeted one of the biggest characters in the film. And I love that they put that in. I've never seen that in an animated film before, where they show things footage in the. But it added to the feel of the film, just and the creativity that went into it, and the dedication and everything. It was really nice to see. But just everything you talk.
Let's talk about the characters a bit more, like individually, because I'd like to talk about the one-eyed Kubo.
Yes.
And as far as Kubo as a character, to start off with, when I was watching the first few trailers, there was a debate. Is Kubo male or female? Kubo is male.
Male.
Just for anyone who's just looking at the film posters and going, hold on, I can't really tell. No, Kubo is a young boy, obviously, like, trying to locate the suit and stuff like that. He starts off the film very kind of, like, I want to say he's a selfless character from the very, very start. He is doing everything for his mum. He's looking after her and everything. Out into the village, and he performs. He performs for money. He performs for other, like, to give money to other people. I think he performs just because he loves it.
Yeah.
And it's something that he can do outside of, like, his home.
I don't know how in depth.
As far as a character.
Oh, go on. Sorry.
I'm not really going too in depth.
Yeah.
Just from that, which you can see in the trailers, obviously, from the very start with his origami magic playing.
I guess it probably has, like an Oriental name, the name of that instrument, but it is kind of like a lute, isn't it?
Yeah. But from the very start, you can tell this is like someone who is quite adventurous. You can tell it's someone who these amazing stories, and it's almost like a sense that he wants to live them out one day as well. And that is really the call to adventure right there. This film, I do want to talk about in the spoiler section, the arc of the hero throughout this story. But as far as his character is concerned, the way it develops throughout the film, he only becomes tougher, he becomes stronger emotionally and physically. And it's just really well played out for his personal story.
Yeah, and he is a really likable character from The Office. You're saying he's a completely selfless character.
Yeah.
And I don't know how in depth I can go into that, but some of the themes that are explored in that first bit and the commentary it's having on a particular illness that his mother has, it's really, really heartbreaking to watch. And the thing is that you were talking about his call to adventure. That storytelling when he goes to the town, that's just pure escapism for himself. And he loves doing it, and everyone in the town loves it. And just seeing the personalities of the characters in the town as well, that was really fun. And we've got George Takei playing one who delivers his archetypal classic line that I think...
Oh my.
George Takei, everything he appears in. Oh my. But yeah. And
it's called a shamisen.
Yeah. Oh, okay. The instrument he's got, yeah. And yeah, you're right, that call to adventure. And he did start off the movie, though, some of his decision-making, it did seem like everything bad that was happening was being caused by his naivety and how stupid he was. Like, he was warned against not doing something. But then when you think in depth about it and the kind of story that this is and how it's based on mythology and typical folklore, that is a very prominent aspect to many of those stories. It's a character going against a rule or regulation that throws them into this adventure or throws them into all these problems that happen. And obviously, if he didn't, we wouldn't have any story. So you go along with that too. But I was checking the caster before we jumped on the podcast. I didn't realize that Rickon Stark was the voice of Kubo.
If only Kubo zigzagged.
Yeah. Or if you've got Beetle just firing all the arrows.
He should have just weaved.
Yeah. But also along with that, we've got some of the companions that Kubo goes along on his adventure with. We've got Monkey, for example, voiced by Charlize Theron. She was great, and initially when her character's introduced, she's very like guiding type. She's like helping him get through traverse all this landscape and help him find what he needs to find. And she does have that very sort of cold, determined humor to her. She does have a humor. She's looking out for him, and he's being all wisecracking and stuff. And she's like, "Look, if you don't do this, if we don't move, if we don't get what we've got to do, we're gonna die. Okay, so shut the hell up, Kubo, and let me do what I got to do." But her character was fantastic. And then later on, the sort of comic relief character of the film, I guess, Matthew McConaughey's Beetle was amazing. I loved every single second of him. I've seen a lot of reviews. Some people are saying that they thought he kind of clashed with the movie, and they could have just seen it with Monkey being the companion all the way through the film. But I thought the Beetle was a nice balance to it.
You needed something light in the film, because Monkey's character, I would say, is quite dark, very unforgiving.
Yes.
Whilst Beetle's character is very light, very adventurous, very kind of brave and strong, and all these attributes that would come along with almost like a knight. And Monkey is more stern by the books. Everything has to be done in a certain way. So it's interesting. We also had Rooney Mara playing the sisters.
Oh my God!
Who are the
J horror sisters?
Very, very, the very, very creepy characters who form the villains in the film, as well as Ralph Fiennes playing the Moon King towards the end, which very well cast.
Yes.
They did a really good job in the casting there. I wouldn't place any of the acting cast anywhere else. I think they suited their roles well. I can't really think of anyone else that would fill in each role either, now that I've seen the film.
Yeah, Rooney Mara was great. I didn't realise she was doing the voice. I had to wait for a lot of the credits to go up at the end to see who did the voices. But Rooney Mara is great, and I just want to talk about Leica as well as a company. Most animated films now, and I always say this, when I look back to ones I used to watch as a kid, like The Land Before Time, a few of the 90s Disney movies as well, they had a grit to them. You know, people died, shit happened, you know, a lot of stuff happened, and a lot of animated films now really kind of skirt around that issue, or they play it very safe.
Finding Dory didn't have a single moment where there was any peril, even slightly.
No, and then you look at Finding Nemo with that opening scene to that film, and, you know, that's what I'm talking about, but Leica really doesn't shy away from that stuff. There are some genuinely scary and creepy scenes in this film. For example, you see it in the trailer with Rooney Mara's character, the sisters, when they're almost like hovering across the lake, and they're wearing these almost V for Vendetta kind of masks almost, no expression or anything, just these pale white masks. And I can see that being creepy to some little kids, but I was watching it and like, this, I think some kids' films need that. You need that element of not horror, but that dread to it, because it elevates the stakes of the story and the villains and the hero's quest, and you want to see him succeed by the end. So this film just had all the right ingredients, and as you were talking about, like the voice cast were just fantastic all the way around. I would really struggle to think of something I don't dislike in this movie. It was pretty much.
I have to talk about something, but in the non-spoiler section. It's not something that I agree with, but it's something that is being used as the only criticism I've seen of the film so far.
Okay.
Outside of Matthew McConaughey's Beetle.
Yeah, but no, we talked about like Beetle. I do think you need a character like that, and we've seen that combination loads before with the kind of determined, level-headed one and the sort of brash, wisecracking one. It's a combination that's been done loads, and that's why when I look at this film and look at the ingredients of it, it doesn't really... In terms of the ingredients, it is very traditional. It doesn't really try anything new with the typical fantasy formulas, but that works for the kind of film that it is. I would say. And it's really the themes and the characters journey that elevates it above the traditional stereotypical tropes of a fantasy adventure film. So should we talk about the animation a bit? I want to talk about the music as well. But
yes.
My God.
If you want to go ahead.
This is one of the prettiest movies I think I've ever seen in my life. And I actually really want this movie to go up for best cinematography in film, but I know it won't because it's animated. And La La Land will probably...
Hold on, wait a sec. No, continue talking. I'm just searching something up.
Okay. I've always been a big fan of stop-motion animation, just the level and the detail and how time-consuming it is. The fact that they have to move each character model like a millimeter, take a new shot. It must be absolutely ridiculous how they pull it off, but this is, without a doubt, one of the nicest-looking films I've seen. The environments, when we did our review on The Good Dinosaur, which was Pixar's movie, which wasn't a good movie, but we talked about the backdrops in that and the environments and how breathtaking they were. I would say I thought even more so with this film. There were moments where I was literally just looking at the screen and I could feel myself tearing up just looking at a single frame of the film. You could very much see how they would have taken concept art and applied that straight to the animation. Some of the breathtaking landscape shots of like the snow. There's one towards the start with this big sort of like plateau in the middle of the sea. Sunset, just the woods. So many nice moments in this film and moments that I can remember just based purely on the environments. And also the look of the characters are very unique and clever. And just how fluid the animation is. You just look at it, and I really can't wait to get this film on Blu-ray, watch all of the behind-the-scenes footage, all the director's commentary and stuff, because although, as I said at the end credits, we do get to see how they filmed one particular scene of it, I just kind of want to see how they did the whole thing, because I don't know. There's some films where I see them. I had this with Lord of the Rings, and I had this with Mad Max Fury Road, where I sit back and go, I physically don't know how a group of humans managed to put this together.
To do that.
And I had that with this movie too. It was absolutely phenomenal.
So one thing I just wanted to search up was the animated films that have been nominated for the Best Picture.
Okay.
We have Beauty and the Beast.
Yep.
Was nominated for Best Picture. Up and Toy Story 3. So no film since 2010. Anomalisa was odds-on favourite last year to be nominated for Best Picture out of all of the animated films, even though it didn't win Best Animated Film, which was won by Inside Out. Anomalisa was odds-on favourite, which is interesting. I think it was more because Anomalisa was more of an adult film, more of a film that like the general audience would probably go for. If a film this year was nominated, I think it might potential to do that. It'd be interesting to see because critical response has been phenomenal. It really has. And I'm
hoping good word of mouth really carries this movie. I really, really do, because it deserves it.
One other thing I wanted to say was I just wanted to appreciate the amount of time they put into the animation. I'm unsure on how long ago this film was announced, or how long ago when this going to production.
It says on December 22nd, 2014, Leica and Focus Features announced that production had begun on a 3D stop-motion animation film, Kubo and the Two Strings. So about 2 years ago.
So it took them... It's a long time.
Yeah.
And I just want to thank you.
Yeah. Every single person involved. But even
shall we move on to spoilers then?
Yeah. Actually, can I just talk about the music? I haven't really been blown away by any particular soundtracks this year, with exception to Kung Fu Panda 3 by Hans Zimmer. I thought that was probably one of his best scores he's ever written. The music to this film, of a composer I'm not really familiar with, Dario Marianelli. He's done a lot of costume drama films. He did Pride and Prejudice with Keira Knightley. He did V for Vendetta: Atonement, Anna Karenina. So he's done a lot of things like that. And he has worked on Box Trolls, so he has been involved with Leica before. But the music to this film, it was standing out to me just how beautiful it was. And that, coupled with the imagery, that's ultimately what you want. Yeah. You want that synchronization between the music and the frames, the images you're seeing on screen. And I will probably buy the soundtrack to this film. I can't wait to listen to it again. Really just moments where the music is just so beautiful, and we've got all these lovely character moments which we're going to talk much more about in spoilers, I'm sure. But the music was moving me to tears, and I guess I don't know if it was the imagery or if it was the music or a combination of both, but that's a sign of a good film score to me. So I will definitely be getting this one. And also, I don't know if it's a spoiler, so I'll wait till spoilers, but a particular song features in the credits, which I was hoping was going to make it into the film somewhere. And
that isn't spoilers. That really isn't.
Okay, that's fine.
It was in the trailer, so.
In the trailers, we hear a variation on While My Guitar Gently Weeps by George Harrison. And it features in the movie in the end credits, and I was really happy because I thought that was a perfect song to use in the trailers. And I love especially when it's a song I really love in trailers, I always hope somewhere it's going to make it into the movie, and it did. So that was more incentive to stay in for the credits, even though I was already going to do that anyway. We'll just go brief recommendation and then straight into spoilers because we've got a lot to talk about for this one. So Tate, would you recommend Kubo and the Two Strings?
I'm unsure, you know. No, seriously.
I'm going to tune in at this exact point. It's like, not really. Just switch the review on.
No. Yes, go see Kubo.
Yeah.
Go see Kubo. Go see Brooklyn, then go see Kubo.
Absolutely. What you just said. Without a doubt, so far, I haven't seen La La Land, and I'm sure there's a lot of other good movies coming out. But for me, right now, yeah, go on, show that Brooklyn. Go on, I'll click the thing. Go on. Everyone see that movie. It is glorious. But yeah, this is my film of the year. I stand by that. Maybe I need to give it a second watch, but right now in my mind, I haven't had this level of emotional response to a movie this year. And as I said, this is why I go to the movies. It's an absolutely flawless movie, in my opinion. Please go and see it. Please support it, because Leica... I don't want Leica to become the next Studio Ghibli. We know what happened to that, where Ghibli started losing money. And I really do think that given the chance, Leica could reach the heights that Ghibli did with films like Princess Mononoke and things like that. I really do. So please support this movie because they deserve it for all their hard work they put into this movie. Right, shall we get on to spoilers? So Tate, what would you like to talk about first? We've got a lot of themes to talk about on this one.
Let's talk about the different themes running throughout the entire film, because they say the most powerful theme in this film is memory.
Yeah.
Memory and remembering people that have passed on and those kind of things. The first thing that I noticed about the film was that, like, the mother of Kubo has bad memory, or memory has been wiped or partially removed. And I thought they were going to play on that a lot more. However, as the film developed, it made more sense. As you get further throughout the film, you realize that Monkey is in fact Kubo's mum, and the lore behind the film, the Japanese folktale, was that originally the moon goddess or the moon god would send down his daughters to basically every single night with the moon shining in the night sky, go down to Earth and basically pass moonlight to the people. However, one of the daughters went down, the youngest one, and he fell in love with a warrior. And she married the warrior, and the idea of the original folktale was that the moon god was not upset that, like, she went off and she betrayed him, stuff like that. He was more upset that he would never see his daughter again if she was down on Earth, as he could not go down to Earth. Every single night, the one moon would rise in the sky. I believe that is the tale beyond that, but I think that is the tale that they were loosely basing it off. And in this film, they basically add in a fighting element. They add in the two sisters that do come down to Earth as well, who want to take Kubo up into the heavens to make the family whole again.
Yeah.
Almost like them being gods and then wanting to take the demigod back up so that they kind of gods can sit in the heavens whilst the humans the earth. And in the end, the film is more about memory and remembering people who have been lost in the past and the different ways that you can remember people lost in the past and different ways that you can deal with it. Like I said, it was the differences between the Eastern way and the Western way of dealing with loss.
Yeah.
Was all the way throughout this film. And it was beautifully brought together at the end with the actual realization of the two strings, with Beetle being Kubo's father, the warrior, turned into a beetle out of revenge, and Monkey being Kubo's mother, who was used the rest of her magic to save Kubo's life and get him away to send him on the quest, and Kubo himself being the string in the center to tie the two strings of his parents together. That was beautiful.
It was the genius. And you were telling me before we hit record that was it someone in your screening was saying, I don't know what...
Someone in my screening, I don't understand it, mummy.
Did you watch the movie? Did you watch the movie?
No, the kid said the guitar's got 3 strings. The film's called 2 Strings, mummy. I'm just like, 2 strings are the parents, god damn it.
Yeah. I do want to talk about that whole concept of Monkey and Beetle being the parents. But first, I want to touch on what you said first about the mother and how you wanted them to develop the memory loss thing a little more at the start. I agree with that, because it was strange where she was just kind of sat very stoically out of the sunset, wasn't speaking. And it took me a while to sort of clock on what was happening. I don't know if they were sort of like hinting that she had Alzheimer's or something like that. That's what I thought they were doing. But also at the very start of the film, where we get thrown straight into that sea escape where they're on the rowboat and she cuts a path through the tidal wave, which is probably my favorite shot of the entire movie. She does hit her head pretty hard on the riverbed and we see blood. And right from that moment, I was like, oh, okay. I haven't seen blood in a kid's animated movie in a long, long time. So I don't know if that was a side effect from that happening or if it was Alzheimer's. I'm not sure.
Maybe that's what I assumed. But what I wanted to say was Kubo's story from the very start. He's dealing with a person who's slowly losing their memory, possibly even dying, getting weaker every single day, almost not being there anymore, even if they're the shell of the person. Kubo then fully loses a person within that. Monkey gains Beetle to kind of support them through it, and then realize they are the parents kind of guiding him, even though they have kind of moved on into almost reincarnation, and then finally having them ripped away again, and Kubo realizing that they were the things keeping him stable. They were the things that were pushing him forwards throughout the entire, like, all of his journey, throughout his life. And in the end, that kind of repels the hatred, the revenge that the grandfather wanted, because he had his own daughter taken away from him. He personally acted out of rage, and Kubo understands that you don't need to act out of rage. You need to just remember them.
Yeah, definitely.
And that is, for a kid's story, that's so deep.
Yeah. I'll get to the Moon King stuff in a minute. I wanted to ask you a question, see if you thought the same as me. This didn't detract from my enjoyment of the film at all, as you can tell from my review. I said it's my film of the year. But I guess it's played as a twist in the movie that Monkey turns out to be the reincarnation or spirit of his mother, and Matthew McConaughey's character Beetle is his dad. In the movie, it's played very much like a big, shocking twist, like we weren't meant to see that come in. I got that impression pretty much straight away, at least definitely when Beetle showed up in the film. Do you think the film would have been stronger if they hadn't have directly said that, yes, we're your parents, and it was sort of like hinted at, like a bit of symbolism in the film? Do you think that would have been a bit better?
Or maybe even a realization, like within the final fight, that they were, and that's when they take the strings together.
Yeah, because I think,
and it's also a thing that to Kubo, they were Kubo's friends.
Yeah,
and friends developed into family, as well as them actually being his family. Yeah, literally and metaphorically.
Yeah, so I in hindsight, I think the film may have been a bit stronger, because the film up until that point had been really, really just smart, intelligent. You didn't need to spell everything out, and I think maybe that was a little step too far. As I said, it didn't detract my enjoyment 1 second at all. No. But I think that in hindsight,
two things
Yeah, go on.
Two things. The one tiny problem I have with the film is the Moon King fight at the end. I wanted it to be an actual samurai duel.
Yes. Yeah. And I didn't even think of that until now, but that would have, yeah. When he does the story at the
I
start.
wanted it to be a samurai duel.
Yeah. Because, I mean, he gets the sword and he
Or
gets the armor, and all he really uses it for is to sort of like drag it through this big snake like monster. Really.
I, in a sense, because that would have gone back to the idea of Kubo finally finishing off his story from his origami.
Yes.
And I thought they were going to go that route, and I was getting really prepared. And it's like, the Moon King turned into a giant bug.
Yeah.
We'll roll with it, but I would have rather have seen a samurai battle.
When he initially changed into that, I thought it was going to be almost like the ending of Aladdin with Jafar, where he changes into the snake and he changes into the sauce and the genie and things like that. I thought he was going to shapeshift into
And
many
fire
different things.
chicken and the
Yeah. Oh, can you imagine? Can you imagine a giant flame-breathing chicken voiced by Ralph Fiennes? That would have been epic.
Good Mythical Morning would just sting us for copyright for that, so I wouldn't.
Yeah. But let's get on to the very, very end of the film now. So earlier on in the film, which was a really, really nice bit of just exploring the culture, one of my favourite scenes in the film was the whole lighting of the lantern ceremony, sort of praying to previous ancestors that have died, and then sending the lanterns away down the river, returning them back to the spirit world. I love that scene, and scenes in films like this where they really just do take a step back and let the film just play out and just simmer and let you take in the beauty of it. Really, really love that. And you've got Kubo trying to adapt because he doesn't really know much about this custom. He makes his own little lantern, prays to his dad, doesn't really get an answer, or does he? And then we get to the film, and in any other film, literally in any other film, I would have hated this ending because it's the typical, we beat the villain with the power of love. And I hate that trope. I hate that concept in so many other films.
This was agape, though. This was tough love. And not many films do it with tough love. In other films, it's all, happy romantic, hand in hand. This isn't the end of Kubo's story. No. Kubo still has to live with the idea that the person who he has closest in the world to him killed his parents and has wanted to be out and like take his eye and like take him away from what he loves in the first place. And now the roles have almost reversed because Kubo at the start of the film was looking after the daughter. Now Kubo's job is to almost look after the grandfather and help him recover from what has happened because of the film. And it's a love that the villagers kind of get because they understand that Kubo's obviously saved them. And Kubo, in return, has asked them, please forgive this person. Like, make him a better person. He doesn't know what he is. Make him a good person. And because of that, it's done which other films do not do. And it's done the harder option. The easier option would be to just kill off the villain. Because the villain is the be-all and end-all goal. But no, in this film...
Yeah.
In this film, they want to create good memories in his head because they would prefer him as a person that way. And that must be tough for Kubo, but he understands that that is his role.
Mm. And he understands
that is the ending to his story.
That he is still family. And it's what you were talking about earlier with different ways that people deal with things. I mean, if you look at the character of the Moon King, the granddad, you could argue that family is just as important to him as it is for Kubo and for the mother and for every other character.
Yeah, developed as much as it could have been. Given an extra 5 minutes of development for his character, this would be out and out the best animated film of all time.
Yeah, because ultimately...
It's up for debate.
Yeah, ultimately he loves his grandson and he just wants what he thinks in his mind is best for his grandson. He wants him to suck his mantle, and it's that element of that's always played into family stuff with legacy and the passing of the torch onto the next person. So, in a weird, warped way, you could sort of agree with the granddad. It's just the way he went about things, and ultimately, I can't remember the line exactly from the film, but Kubo has this moment where he says, "You have like, all of my family. You have murdered your own family in order to do this." But he was just so blind from it. Literally, he was so blind from what he was doing. Although the bit at the end where you were saying where he's just completely forgotten everything, and it's almost like everyone gets together and creates his new character. It's almost like creating a character in a new story.
It is, yeah.
Continuation of his story as a new role. If I was in that village, though, if I was Kubo, I would always be really, really cautious and a little anxious.
They were cautious and anxious because their village has been destroyed. They have to rebuild. But if they trust in Kubo, and therefore they would trust in who Kubo trusts.
Yeah.
And with the memory gone, and with Kubo kind of helping him to the path of recovery, I feel like if this film's continuation, I think Kubo would probably become the head of that village and be the person that people would look for. He would be the great warrior like his father was.
Yeah.
I think that's where that story goes. And it's a shame about the sisters in the story, because the sisters, they always wore the mask. And something that I didn't actually notice until I saw the film, and the very scene where the witches kill Beetle and Monkey, they were wearing masks, and I didn't realize it. I thought that they was just their faces, and they were speaking, and they were meant to be spirit-like. But then you realize that when she said they were the sisters, and you thought, okay, how I thought the film was that Kubo's mum came down with like that kind of face, and then within the battle, she became more human. But no, it's more of the fact that you never get to see their eyes because the mask covers up the eyes, and you realize that they are blind as well.
Yeah, I was just going to say they were probably blind as well. Yeah, which is it's genius, this whole film. And if we're talking about the sisters, the action scenes with those, and because you did need some action scenes in there, and I think really, although the sisters weave into the plot and everything, still the concept of family, really they're only there to be that driving antagonist. You've got the Moon King, who's sort of the end goal, but you do need that pursuing antagonist throughout the rest of the film. And the fights.
One final.
Oh God, sorry.
One final thing, which has literally just popped into my mind and made my mind blow. You know the first scene with the wave?
Yes.
The wave is being controlled by the Moon King and the moon because of the tides.
Oh my God. That's genius. Film of the year.
Think about
That's
it.
the reason why this is the film of the year.
Yeah. No, because if you think about it, the first scene is the giant wave, and she defeats it with her magic. And then it's the line of "Don't look away, not even for a second." And it's the blind man, and it almost takes out one of her eyes. And I thought that Kubo's mum was going to be blind in that eye for part of the film, but instead it kind of showed a scar that is her past.
Yes.
And she's looking forward towards the future. This film! Oh my God!
You've just thought of that right now. Just talking like this.
Yeah.
This is and I can't. One of my favourite shots in the film. I know I talked about the tidal wave. I can't actually remember if this is in the film or if it's in the credit sequence. But it's Kubo standing there with the spirits of his two parents, and then it morphs into the two streaks. I think that's probably in the credits.
Yeah.
But that whole theme of that with, he keeps the hairs and stuff. And also I want to say what I was talking about earlier with Leica just not shying away from or like the horror of everything. If this had been any other film, say if this had been a Disney film, perhaps, maybe not Lion King, but if it had been any other movie, they'd have brought the parents back at the end. They'd have brought Monkey back at the end. They'd have brought Beetle, and it would have been happy ending. If that movie had done, it would have absolutely ruined everything the movie was trying to say about its themes, about the concept of loss and remembrance, and ultimately continuing and enduring. That did actually catch me off guard, though, when they killed Beetle. Like, I knew that Monkey probably wasn't going to make it, but it's that moment where she's like, look after Kubo for me when I'm gone. It's like, I promise, I will defend it. And then he just gets stabbed in the back, and that's it. That's him. He's dead. It's really just hard hitting in that moment, and it was completely trope breaking in that moment. This film, just what we've discussed now with the themes and everything, this is one of the most just well thought out movies. And that's why I think ultimately when it gets to the end and they do beat the villain with the power of love, why I like it more in this film, because I think it was earned and I think it played into the themes of the movies rather than just being an easy way to beat the villain.
Hey Chris, it's a bittersweet ending. It ticks all the boxes.
We love our bittersweet endings. We'll have to wait till La La Land because I'm sure that will too. One thing I will
Oh
say,
yes.
yeah, one thing I will say, and I probably know the answer you're going to give me right now anyway. But would you like to see a sequel to Kubo and the Two
No.
Strings? I don't think you can do one. I really don't. Part of me, when you were talking earlier about how he was becoming his father and everything like that, part of me does want to see him grow into adulthood and be the leader of the village with the suit of armor and going on more quests. But ultimately, I think part of the joy of it is not to know what became of him after that. Like, he's gone through this, and now it's up to him to make his adventure.
All of Leica's films have been very kind of straightforward.
Yeah.
That is the end of the story. Coraline did it so well, and people were saying, "Oh, we want a Coraline sequel." I'm like, no, we do not want a Coraline sequel. That story is gone, and I know that their next set of films, because they've started production on a film called Wildwood, and that is a book series.
Right.
So I feel like if they want, that's their next step. They've done a couple of films now. Now they want to solidify a film series for animation and build their way up. And I can't think of any film series of animation which are coming up soon enough where brand new ideas for films coming forward. Series of animated films. The last series we really had where animated films would have sequels was probably
Cards is ongoing. When you say series, you mean just more than like three, like more than two,
more than one? Having at least one sequel to an animated film of recent times, other than
we had Toy Story.
Despicable Me and Minions can go F themselves, seriously.
Toy Story, Kung Fu Panda, How to Train Your Dragon. There's been a few. There has been a few.
I know, but I'm talking really recently. Like, the films are still ongoing. They've got films planned for production as well.
That would probably be like Cars, and I know Incredibles 2 is finally getting a sequel. It is mostly just like the DreamWorks Pixar stuff. I know Disney, in terms of Disney sequels, I think, looking at my shelf now, there's only been 2 Disney sequels in the past. There was Fantasia 2000 and Rescuers Down Under. They were 2 sequels with their own ones, but I know now Big Hero 6 2, I guess, has been confirmed. Frozen 2. So they're starting to do it more now as well. But I would quite like them to just leave this one alone. Just let single individual
move on to. They need to move on to Wildwood, and they need to move on to where is it? There is another film in production. Their other film in production is called Goblins.
Yeah, so that'll probably be more like the kind of Box Trolls kind of style, I would imagine. If I'm going to give my recommendation on this film, then please go and see this movie. I actually saw this one in 2D. I went, by the time I got there to my cinema, because I was in Coventry at the time, and I just got there on the bus, and I had 10 minutes till the film started, and that was in 3D. And I was going to plan on seeing a couple of movies that day, so I thought, take the hit, go and see it in 3D. I'll have time to watch movies afterwards. When I asked for my ticket, she'd given me the ticket for the 2D screening for an hour's time, so I had to kill time and then went to see it. But I'm very glad I went to see it in 2D. Part of me is interested to see how it would look in 3D. I think it would look pretty good, but just the colour and the vibrancy that I was getting from it in 2D, I wouldn't change that. There are moments of this film that remind me of some of the most groundbreaking animated films for me. For example, like the lantern sequence, it really reminded me of the Ave Maria sequence from Fantasia from 1940. Or even like the lantern sequence from Disney's Tangled. Lights, really, really gorgeous animation. The best stop motion animation I've ever seen. In the credits, how they do the big skeleton thing where that, like, you know, they're getting it all prepped and they pull the lever and it animates. Absolutely flawless. Please support this. If you love animated films, if you love adventure films,
if you just love films, go watch this.
Absolutely, because I think the themes do elevate it up so adults have something to gravitate towards it too.
I feel like this film is watched by kids, enjoyed by kids, appreciated by adults.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say as well, when I was watching this movie, I was thinking, God, this would make a great video game. Some of the fights in this, like the fight on the leaf boat, or the swimming underwater with the eyes.
I will check to see whether there is going to be a video game. I don't think so.
I don't think they've done a video game to anything else. but like the skeleton that they fight, the boss battle where they have to try and get the sword, all that stuff, I thought this would make a fantastic video game if it ever happened, like a hack and slash. But yeah,
that might be the way they.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, absolutely. Go see Kubo. We'll have to make that a new thing on the channel. Please go and see Kubo. Please give it more money because it deserves it.
Please go see Kubo.
Tayte, have you said everything you have on Kubo, or do you have...
Yep, I'm good. That's it.
Yep. Right, that'll do it.
Wait, no.
No.
The final thing. One of the other I know we're going back to criticisms.
Yes.
I didn't mind this, but someone pointed out that the hero's journey, the initial stages are the call to you have normality, call to action, and then the rejection of the wanting to be a hero. They didn't have any rejection in this film. When Kubo flies away from his mum and wakes up with Monkey next to him, he doesn't reject it even slightly. He just he resists, but he doesn't completely reject the idea. And I know that a couple of people said if they'd added that in, maybe like a small rejection, like him going off and Monkey convincing him that like his mum had gone, Monkey was the only thing and the only way that he could, like, if they stuck together.
Yeah, but the only things they really do with that are really trivial things like, oh, I don't want to eat whale soup. There's no sort of moments. And if I'm going to compare it to another animated film with a similar theme like that, if they'd have had a scene in The Land Before Time, I don't know if you've ever seen that one, the one that came out, I think it was late 80s, when Littlefoot, spoiler alert, when Littlefoot's mom dies, which is one of the most heart-wrenching animated moments ever, there's like a whole 5 or 10 minute scene afterwards where Littlefoot is just depressed. He's crying. He's lost his way. It's really, really a hard hitting animated film when you watch it again. And there's a scene which I think had to be added in because this scene originally wasn't in test screenings. And when people watched it, they said this is going to be too traumatic, too emotionally exhausting for kids to watch. You need to add this character in to kind of cushion the blow. And that would have been like the Monkey character, like coming in and saying, look, we need to do this. We need to get moving and motivate him onwards. I kind of agree with that. As I said, that's not a huge problem for me because I still think there's a lot of points in the journey where, you know, he does experience loss, but maybe if we'd have had a couple of scenes in here and there so he really sits and dwells on it, that could have elevated it a bit more, absolutely. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I've said everything I can on Kubo and the Two Strings. Go and see it in short. In terms of what's coming up on the channel, I should be jumping on some reactions this week. There hasn't really been any trailers or anything that's come out that's really grabbed my attention this week, but as soon as I do, I'll get on a reaction. The vote is now up as well for episode 6 of Timestamp Zero, which is the show where you get to vote on which movie we sit down and do a commentary on. The last one we did for Sunshine was a bit all over the place. All our movies were out of sync, and it was kind of really chaotic and stuff like that, but hopefully this next one will be good. The straw poll link is in the description. Literally just click which movie you want. I think they're all Edgar Wright movies this time, so please get voting on that. In terms of movie reviews, we've also been discussing a new series where if we just see a movie on our own, in our own time, whether it's one that's come out from years ago, one we've seen many times, one we're watching for the first time, we'll just jump on a solo review for that. There's a few films I want to catch this week. I really want to see Don't Breathe. I really want to see Hell or High Water. And I think this week the new Blair Witch film's coming out, so I'll probably be at those. So just do hit that subscribe button because we don't really have a schedule with our content, but we are trying to put more stuff out for you guys. Facebook and Twitter links in the description. And until the next video, we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.